Hello, friends and the world, whoever might be finding this video coming into their feed. My name is Janine Wiggins. I'm an artist and I was a teacher and I'm an amateur writer and I'm a survivor of domestic violence, domestic homicide, and I'm telling my story and the hopes that I can help other people who have suffered, if not like me, then in some way can relate to my story and the ways that I have used to help me heal. I'm hoping that I can share them with the world and help other people to heal too. Today, I continue my discussion about my family history and about my earliest childhood memories. Where we left off, we were talking about my dad's parents and grandparents. So, my father's father was a used car salesman and sold chickens when he needed to, and also sold moonshine. His family was from Georgia originally, maybe South Carolina as well. There's a Wiggins, South Carolina. And I understand I may have a great uncle who had been a slave owner in South Carolina, unfortunately. But for many of us people who were born and raised in the South, this is just a reality that we can't escape. It's the history of America, the South anyway. So my grandfather was a bootlegger and a used car salesman, and just did what he had to survive in Jacksonville. He met my grandmother, who moved to Jacksonville in 1924 or 25. She was 24 years old. She was born in 1901. And she had never owned a pair of shoes. Her mother was a full-blooded Seminole Indian. And my stepmother did the genealogy in the 80s through the Mormon census. That's how it was done back then. There was no Ancestry.com. And it seems that her family were originally Apache, and in the settling of the United States, they were rounded up along with many natives and relocated to other areas. And the Seminole Indians took in a lot of natives from other tribes as well as runaway slaves. So she was from Brooker, Florida, a very, very small town. I think they have one light. And I guess my great-grandfather built a church there. He was also a bootlegger and a minister. So my great-granddaddy sold booze and God. That also was probably pretty common back then in the South. It's two ways to make money tax-free. So, my grandmother, I don't know anything about her mother. When my parents broke up, my mother burned all my father's pictures, and I never got to see a picture of her or of her father, really any of my mother's extended family, and also my father's family. My mother was an only child, so there wasn't a lot of history to be gotten, and they were originally from Oklahoma, so Jacksonville was not their original home base. So then we can go into my dad's father's sister's family, which is interesting because Aunt Imro Kokoris, what a gracious lady she was, a Baptist. She was married to Nick Kokoris. I remember Uncle Nick. He was tall and thin, and he was bald. And I remember when I was a little girl, I thought he looked like a snake. He didn't really. He was a nice man. But he was Greek, and his family member, maybe a great uncle or a grandfather, I'm not sure, helped to establish Tarpon Springs in Tampa, Florida, which has got a huge Greek community. And if you listen to the Old World Florida channel, which I'm not advocating, but if you do, they talk about the history of Florida, and it would seem that we had a huge Greek population at that time, actually for a very long time in Florida. He was a relative by marriage, not by blood. But they had, Aunt Imro had my cousin Leonard Skinner. Or, yeah, that would be correct. So, Leonard Skinner was the basketball coach for the very famous band, Leonard Skinner Band, back in 1960s, the mid-60s, and he suspended them from school for not cutting their hair for so long that they dropped out of school and named their band the Leonard Skinner Band because he was the biggest nerd they knew. He tried to sue them for some money, of course, and they changed the E's to Y's, and you got the Leonard Skinner Band. I know when I was a little girl, I asked my Aunt Rosemary, who was Leonard Skinner's wife, actually would be my cousin-in-law, but we called her Aunt Rosemary. I said, Aunt Rosemary, this band has the same name as Cousin Leonard. And she said, shh, we don't talk about that. And that was like in the early 1970s. So that's my dad's family. I have extended family, cousins, including Leonard Skinner's children. I'm not close to them now. I mean, we're Facebook friends, but you know, for whatever reason, they don't want to be connected to my family anymore. And frankly, my family history is so crazy, I really don't blame them. So, that said, my cousin Susie Skinner and Leonard Skinner Jr., who has passed away from kidney disease because addiction runs in our family. A liver disease, I believe he died from liver disease. And then she has children and her family. But again, you know, we're not close. Cousin Leonard has passed on, like my father, a few years later. And his wife, Aunt Rosemary, is still here with her family in Jacksonville. So that's the extent of my family history. And with that said, I've got a step-grandmother. My father's father had a second wife, and they had a child named Talmadge, Uncle Talmadge. Knew him when I was a little girl, but after the divorce, again, we were not allowed to be close to any of our family, and I really don't know them anymore. Dina and Karen were my cousins, and Aunt Caroline was Talmadge's wife. They live in Georgia, outside of Atlanta, as far as I know. And that's the story of my father's family. And in the future, I'll go on and tell you more about my personal history. The next video will entail my early childhood and what that was like. And I really appreciate everybody watching my video and spending some time with me. And thank you so much for being patient with me, because this is all new. We don't have a microphone, so the volume is not great, and I'm still learning my partner's cues, which you might have seen, because we want to keep this thing at 10 minutes or less, because it's got to be for the YouTube format. I haven't made enough videos, I believe, to do a long format video. So with that said, I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll be back soon with the beginning of my personal story as a child. God bless you all. God bless you. Whatever your faith may be, may you have many, many blessings and lots of love in your life. And if you like what you're seeing and are interested to learn more, please help me grow my channel by subscribing and liking the video, and maybe even sharing it with friends if you think they might be interested. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day.